Hi guys, and welcome to my gluten-free, allergy-friendly kitchen. Today we are going to make sloppy joes. I love sloppy joes so much. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to saute our peppers. You are going to need 1 red bell pepper and 1 green bell pepper. Now you want about a cup of peppers. Sometimes peppers are a little bit bigger. You'll get more than a cup, or a little bit smaller and you'll get a little less than a cup. That is okay. We want our peppers to be finely minced. Now, in the real world, I usually don't do this with a knife. I will just take my food processor and zhuzh it up until it's absolutely tiny pieces. But my food processor is pretty janked up and I need a new one. So I'm using my knife. We're just going to do it. The smaller the pieces, the better. The quicker it will cook. And you're going to take those peppers and you're going to put them in a saucepan with just a little bit of oil. We're talking like 1 to 2 teaspoons max of oil. Just enough to keep them from sticking. And we're going to put those on the stove and we're going to saute them for about a minute to 2 minutes, just until they soften up a little bit. Now while the peppers are cooking, we're going to clear some of our dirties and we are going to get our rest of our sauce whisked together. And from there it's only like a 5-minute process. Okay. So in a separate bowl, we are going to put, don't be intimidated, I'm about to throw a lot of ingredients at you, but they are really, really easy. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to throw in 1 can of crushed tomatoes. Now make sure that you don't buy the tomatoes that have garlic, onion, basil, Italian seasoning, plain crushed tomatoes. 1 to 1.5 cups of sugar or sugar substitute. Now I have used white sugar, I've used xylitol, I've used granulated monk fruit, and right now I am using coconut sugar or palm sugar. These sugar substitutes, the main thing is you want to make sure that they are granulated, and you need to know that they'll each impart a slightly different flavor. If you want the closest to Manwich, white sugar or monk fruit is going to do you the best. I suggest you start with a cup, and then when you get to the place of seasoning it to taste, if it needs to be sweeter for you, you can add an extra half cup, no problem. Okay, we're also going to add 1 cup of white vinegar. 1/4 cup of better batter flour or 2 tablespoons of some kind of starch. Now if you don't have better batter or you don't have to be gluten-free, you could use cornstarch, you could use arrowroot powder, or you could use tapioca starch. But because I'm the better batter lady, I just use better batter flour and it works great. The reason that we have different amounts is because flour will work differently than starch, and you want to have something that is manageable. If you put a 1/4 cup of cornstarch in here, you're going to have jello. Okay, just be warned. I'm going to check our peppers. This is a good public service announcement. Don't leave a metal spoon in a hot pan. Okay, so we're going to use a 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of better batter flour, or 2 tablespoons to a 1/4 cup of starch, and to that we're going to add 2 tablespoons of dried chives, or you could use dried minced onion if you can have onion. We can't. You're going to add 2 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of salt. This may be something you want to increase to taste. A half a teaspoon of allspice. Don't skip it. It is one of the key flavor components of Manwich. An eighth of a teaspoon of cloves. Again, even if you don't like cloves, and Lord knows that my husband does not like cloves, still put it in, it's important. And then a quarter of a teaspoon of black pepper. And a quarter of a teaspoon of crushed red pepper if you want. This is one of the few things that is very optional in this recipe. And 1 bay leaf. We are going to whisk that all together until it is just nice and smooth and looks a little bit like tomato soup. Now, I don't know if you can see, but it's loose as a goose and ready to go in the hot pot. So my peppers are soft. You can see they change color a little bit. They are ready to have the sauce added. We are going to add the sauce all at once. Don't have to learn that lesson twice. And we are going to stir it constantly until it comes to a boil. A nice full rolling boil. Now the finer you have cooked your peppers, the faster this is going to go. And in my opinion, the better the flavor and texture of the sloppy joes. I'm just going to let that cook for a minute and I'm going to talk to you directly. Okay, so from this point, it's going to go pretty quickly. First, you're going to bring it up to a rolling boil, stirring pretty constantly if you're not talking to a camera. And then as soon as it goes to a boil, you're going to turn the heat to medium and you're going to cook it for 5 minutes, stirring every minute to 2 minutes. Not super scary, but you do have sugar in there, so it can caramelize and burn on the bottom. And you want to avoid that. Ask me how I know. Alright, so I'm going to cook, and we're going to speed up this video now. Alright. Now, if you were making this fresh for dinner, you could actually use the time that you are cooking the sauce and brown your ground beef or your vegan ground round. The two that I like are the Light Life plant-based ground and Beyond Meat, Beyond Beef. Both of them do have coconut and peas in them. And the Light Life contains onion, which is an issue for my husband, not for me. But the Beyond Beef actually doesn't have the onion in it, at least that I know of. Should probably find that out. And if you're not vegan or vegetarian, you can use beef, okay? But it should cook in about the same amount of time. So in the time it takes you to brown your beef, you can also make your sauce. And when you do, after the 5 minutes, I hope you can see this, you are gonna get just a rich and delicious sauce. It should be about the texture of barbecue sauce. Now, you are going to make sure to take out the bay leaf. Nobody wants that surprise. And at this point, you would taste it. You would find out, okay, look, it's my recipe. So I know I like this flavor. I know I like as much sugar as I put in there. I know I like as much seasoning and spicy stuff. So at this point, I know that I like this sauce. I don't need to taste it because it's my recipe. However, you may want to taste it for salt, pepper, sugar, vinegar, and just apply a little bit at a time to see what you like. Also, if you want it thicker, I mean, I can't imagine anybody would want it thicker than this, but if you want it thicker, now would be the time to add a little bit more of the flour or the starch. And that's it. I hope you liked the video. If you want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Please feel free to buy me a cup of coffee. Links in the description below. I wanted to say thank you to my friend Julie who bought me a cup of coffee last week. Julie, I put whipped cream on it, dairy free of course, and made it special. But you made it special for me. So thank you. Don't forget, I love you. Bye.